All right, so let's start our talk about programming by first defining what a programming language actually is. A programming language simply is a language used to write instructions that the computer can understand and therefore execute. Okay, and we have so many programming languages that we can use to write these instructions. In the same way, we have so many languages in real life that we can use to communicate, right? We have the English language, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, etc., etc. The same way here, we have, for example, the PHP programming language, the C# programming language, Ruby, Java, C++, and so on and so forth. And in this particular section of this series, we will be using mainly the Python language for several reasons. All right, the first reason is that Python is a very powerful language that supports so many libraries that we can use for a multitude of reasons or purposes. The second reason is that Python is commonly used in the field of data science. So it's definitely a programming language that you can add to your tool build. All right. Now, another thing to know is that most of these languages uh, are similar in the core concepts or the building blocks they all use in order to write the different programs, with slight differences in the syntax or the rules that we follow to write these instructions. Again, they all share the same core concepts, but they differ in the rules uh, used to write the different programs with these languages. All right. Okay. Now, uh, you need to know that programming languages are normally very uh, high or human-like languages that the computer cannot understand immediately. Therefore, there must be a translator of some type that can take these instructions, right, and convert them into a language that the computer can understand, which is the binary language of ones and zeros. Okay, so in this example here, right, let's assume that this person here wants to communicate with the other person here. All right. So this person, the first person, speaks the English language and he said the word hello. Now there must be a translator that can take this word hello and translate it into the word hola so that the person that speaks Spanish can understand this word and therefore respond in some way to the first person. Okay? In the same way, when we talk about programming, there is a software called the compiler or interpreter that takes the instructions written in a certain programming language, like Python in this example, and convert these instructions to the computer's language of ones and zeros. Once the computer takes this instruction, it will be able to execute the different instructions and produce something meaningful back to us. Okay, so just remember this contrast. In English or any other language, we use a translator, right, to translate from one language to the other. When we talk about programming, we use something we call the compiler or the interpreter to do that translation for us. Okay, uh, now let's continue using the English language analogy here. As you may know, in English, there are certain words or combination of words that we use in order to express a certain idea, right? So, for example, in English, we use the word hello to mean something, open to mean something else, right, go, come, and so on and so forth. Similarly, in Python, we use certain keywords in order to form the different instructions in the language, right? So for example, we have the keyword if, switch, for, continue, break, lambda. All of these are keywords that we can use to write the different instructions. So in English, we have a vocabulary. In Python, we have something called the keywords. Similarly, in the same way, we have a certain grammar or rules that we need to follow to write in the English, to write or speak the English language. We have something called the syntax to write using the Python language. So, for example, in English, we can say cat is, right? But we can say cat are or cats is, just in the example here, right? In Python, on the other hand, when we, for example, use the print keyword or print function, then we must immediately follow it with parentheses. If we followed it with curly brackets, for example, or the question mark or any other symbol, then we will simply get a syntax error. Why? Because we have violated the rules or the syntax of this language. So again, in English or normal languages, we have the vocabulary. In programming, specifically in Python here, we use something called the keywords. In English, we use the grammar or the rules to write or speak in the language. In Python, we use the syntax. Okay? Okay. Now, a very important building block of any program is something called the variable or variables. A variable is just a placeholder inside which we can place a value of a certain type or data type. Okay? Now, why do we call them variable? That's because they can vary or change in value at different points in our program. Okay? Now, how do we assign values to these variables? By simply using the equal sign or the assignment operator right here. So let's take some examples here. So first, we have, in the first example, we have a variable called x. Inside x, we want to place the value 2, which is of integer data type, right? So x here, we place 2. Now, in another point of our program, we change the value of x, right, to 46. Now, when we reference the variable x, then the value that we will get is 46 and not 10. Why? Because we changed it. In the same way here, we have the variable y. Inside y, we have placed a decimal or a float number, which is 3.62. Okay, in z, we have placed a value of a string data type, which is hello. And keep in mind that string values are always enclosed within quotations. These are quotations. Okay. Fourth thing, we have created variable d. Inside d, we placed a value of a Boolean data type, which is either true or false. In this case, we have placed the value false. Now, inside the variable h, we haven't placed a value or a constant directly. What we did is that we referenced another variable, added a number to it, and then stored the new value, right? So h is equal to y plus 2. What is the value of y? It's 3.62 plus 2 will be 5.62. So now the value of h is equal to 5.62. So if we set h is equal to y plus 2, is the same thing as saying h is equal to 5.62 directly. Okay, so again, inside variables, we can place something called expressions rather than just constant values. Okay. One thing to underscore is the concept again of data types. Okay, we have different data types to represent different values. So for example, here we have the integer data type, the float data type, string, boolean, and so on and so forth. Now, each one of these data types has its own set of characteristics, its own set of functions that we can apply to these values. Okay? All right. Now, when it comes to variables, there are certain rules that we must follow. Otherwise, we will get a syntax error. Okay? So the first rule is that the variable must start with a letter, right? It can be from A to Z capital or from A to Z small letter or underscore. So either letter or underscore. This is just for the starting letter or starting character. Okay. Second rule is that the variable can contain either alphanumeric characters and underscores and nothing else. Okay, so it can contain alphanumeric or underscore or numbers. But for example, symbols like question mark, slash, hyphen are all not allowed when it comes to variable naming. Third rule is that the names are case sensitive. Okay, so a variable named address is completely different than a variable named address, and both of them will hold different values and will be considered different variables. Okay, now let's see the examples in this table here. So the first variable address. uh, Address complied with the first rule, right? Because it started with a letter or underscore. So that checks out. Second rule, it can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore, right? It did it did contain only alphanumeric characters or underscore or numbers. So the second rule checks out as well. Third rule, which can't be considered really a rule here, so we'll focus on the first two. Right, this variable checked out with the first two rules, therefore this is a valid one. On the other hand, the other variable 3address has violated the first rule. Why? Because it started with the number 3. It can contain the number 3, but it can't start with the number 3. See the difference here? Alright, second example. Underscore address. Completely fine. We can start with underscores, right? Okay, star or asterisk address. This is invalid. Why? Because we haven't started with a letter or underscore. Third example, address 99. Okay, it contains a number, but it hasn't started with a number. Therefore, this one is valid. Okay, what about my address here? Well, this one is clearly invalid. Why? Because it contained a space, and the space in programming is considered a character by itself. And when it comes to variable naming, we can't use spaces. All right. Fourth example, my full address. Uh, we started with a letter, and the variable name only contains letters, numbers, or underscore. So this one checks out. My full address. It complied with the first rule, but it didn't to the second rule. Why? Because we are using hyphens. Hyphens are special characters that are not allowed in variable naming. All right. So again, when you see hyphens, question marks, dollar sign, pound, at, immediately realize that these are not allowed in variable naming, and we can't use them. Okay. Now operators. Now we use operators, which are basically, an operator basically is a symbol used to perform operations on variables and other values, right? So variables by themselves are useless, right? We need to do some processing with these variables that we have. right? And to do that type of processing, we use something we call the operators. And for every operator, we have a left side and we have a right side to it. So left, and then the operator, and then right. Okay, so let's go through these operators one after the other. First one, the assignment operator, which is basically the equal sign. And it is used to bind a name to a value or to assign a value to a variable, right? Uh, Here we have some examples. So for example, x equals 2. This places the constant 2 inside a variable called x. The same way here, we have z is equal to 15. Place 15 inside z. The string alex inside the variable called name, right? Okay, the second type of operators is the arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators. And these mainly are represented by these here, the plus, minus, multiplication, and division signs. So, for example, here we have 2 plus 5. The left side is 2, the right side is 5, and the operator is plus. Y minus 3, y is left, 3 is right, and the minus or subtraction sign is the operator. Number divided by 2. See, number is the left side, 2 is the right side, and the division is the operator. Okay. Third type of operators is comparison operators. And the comparison operators are mainly used to compare the left side with the right side in some sense. So it's always it's like we are asking something like, is the left side bigger than the right side? Is the left side smaller than the right side? Are they equal and stuff like that? And always remember that the output of comparison operators must be either true or false. Okay, and here are some examples of comparison operators. Double equal sign means basically, is the left side equal to the right side? Exclamation mark and equal means, is the left side not equal to the right side? The third one here is the left side less than the right side? Is the left side equal, less than or equal to the right side? Is it greater than, or equal to the right side? See, so we have so many comparison operators, where each one serves different purpose. So let's look at the examples here. We have a 3 double equal 5. 3 is the left side, 5 is the right side, and double equal is the operator. Right? Now here we are asking the question, is 3 equal to 5? Clearly, the outcome or the output will be false. Remember, the output of these operators is either true or false. True means something like yes, and false means something like no. Right? Second example, 5 less than 10. 5 left side, 10 right side, and less than is the operator. Is 5 less than 10? We are asking the question. Clearly, the output is true. 5 is less than 10. All right, what about 10? What about the third example here? 9 less than or equal to 9, right? Now 9 is not equal to 9. However, it's equal to 9. Again, 9 is not less than 9. However, it's equal to 9. Therefore, the outcome would be true. All right. Fourth type of operators is logical operators. Logical operators, uh, or the output of logical operators, is again either true or false. And we have three main logical operators. The AND operator, which basically returns true only if both sides of the operator are true, right? So true and true is true. True and false is false. False and true is false. False and false is false. Okay? Or returns true if either or one of the sides is true. So it will only return false if both of them are false. Both sides are false. Otherwise, it will always return true. Not operator will simply reverse the current Boolean value. So not true, it will be false. Not false, the outcome will be true. All right. So let's look at the sorry, the examples here. We can see so many operators here, right? We have some comparison operators like there is than here and there is than here. And we have logical operators, which is the and, right? So first, let's evaluate them one after the other. Is 9 less than 5? False. Okay, is 2 less than 8? True, right? So false and true, the outcome will be false. Second example, is 9 less than 5? False. Okay, is 2 less than 8? True. Right, false or true is true. Why? Because either one of the sides were true. Okay, not 7 is equal to 4. Is 7 equal to 4? False. Not false, it will be true. All right? It's as simple as that. Now remember, and this is very, very, very important, there is something called the precedence of operators, which means basically that certain operators will be evaluated by Python before some other operators. Okay, so in certain situations, we might come across multiple operators in the same statement or expression. And we need to know which operators will be evaluated first in order to be able to expect the produced output. Okay, so for example, the multiplication, let's use this, the multiplication and division will be evaluated before the addition and subtraction. All right. After that, these operators will be evaluated, the comparison operators. Okay. After that, the logical operators will be evaluated. And eventually, the assignment operator will be evaluated. Okay. So I encourage you to just Google it, saying precedence of operators in Python or in any programming language to see the order of evaluation of the different operators. Why? Again, to be able to expect the output that you will get when you write the different expressions or statements. Okay. Now, two terms that you should always remember when it comes to programming in general and in Python specifically are the statement and expression terms. When you hear a statement, just think of a line of code that does something, and it almost always includes a certain keyword, certain Python keyword. So for example, here we have the import statement, and it's written by using the import keyword, written in red, followed by, for example, a library like pandas, which will be talk about later. For now, just focus on the import part. We use the import keyword and then something. That's a statement. That's an order. Okay. Another example is the if statement. So when we say if x less than 3, we use the keyword if and then we follow that with something. That's a statement. An expression, on the other hand, right, it's a combination, which is a combination of variables, operators, and values that that are all evaluated to one single value eventually. Okay, so the important part here of the definition is that all or the combination of the variables, operators, and values will eventually be evaluated to one single value. Okay, so let's take this example here. Let's assume that we have declared the three variables. X is equal to 3, Y 6, and Z 2. All right, and let's look at the first example here. X times 2 plus Y divided by Z. Right, now remember, we have three operators here, multiplication, plus, and division, right? And we agreed that multiplication and division have precedence over addition and subtraction. Therefore, they will be evaluated first. And when multiplication and division comes in the same expression, then the evaluation will be from the left side to the right side. So the multiplication here will be the first to be evaluated. Okay, x times 2. What is x? 3 times 2 is 6. Second, the division. Y divided by z. Y6, z2. 6 by 2 is 3. Next, we will evaluate the plus sign, right? What is the left side? 6. What is the right side? 3. 6 plus 3 is 9. Okay, it's very simple. You see, this is an expression that contains variables like x, y, and z, constants like or values like 2, and operators like multiplication, division, and addition or plus. And all of these were combined and evaluated to one single value, which is 9. That's an expression. All right. Second example, x times y times z plus 5. We have two multiplications. Therefore, they will be evaluated from left to right. X times y, 3 times y, 6 is 18, right? So this will produce 18. Next, 18 times z, which will be 36. Plus 5, it will be 41. This is another expression, and you know why, right? Okay, third example. X is greater than 9. Again, it's an expression. Why because we have constants, variables, and operators. And the final value it was evaluated for to was false. Fourth one, y plus 6 is equal to 12. The precedence goes to addition. So y plus 6, have 6 plus 6, which is 12. Now 12, is it equal to 12? It is. Therefore, the eventual outcome is true. All right. So please make sure to differentiate statements and expressions and to understand that an expression will eventually be evaluated to one single value in most cases. All right. Okay, so that was it for this part of the introduction to programming. Please go ahead, open up your code editor and start practicing what we have just learned. All right, create some variables, combine them with certain operators, and see what output you will get. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.